yesterday? Which concept we discussed?
Package.
Packages. So what is package? We can say package is a set of classes, interfaces and subpackages. Okay. To avoid naming collision, we are using packages. Okay. Right. Yesterday we executed packages. That means we created packages by using syntax like package name. Then we are trying to import the package to use the parent class methods. So there we got one exception, right? One compile time error. See what is that? How to compile this? We have package 2 and package 1 having a class, right? So what a class having? So a class having a method m1, then package 2 having b class. Okay, so b class having, so this is bytecode, so we have written here b class. So b class having method m2. I'm trying to access a class method m1, okay, by importing package 1. So a class available in which package? Package 1. Okay, I'm trying to import, I'm trying to call the m1 method from a class. So yesterday I create object for b class. If you create object for b class, you need to extend a class. Okay, then only you can access the method. Otherwise you just create object for a class, and by using that reference we can get the value of m1. See, can I access a class m1 method here? What a class m1 method having? So m1 method is in package 1. That is the message we should display. So how can I call this method in package 2 b class? So how to compile it? How to compile package? Tell me how to compile package. What is the shortcut? Select other bus and type cmd here. Let's enter. So with that location we are able to get here. Next, how can I compile a class which is available in package 1? Tell me what is the syntax? Yes, all of you. Java C space -d space dot space. What's the class name? A. What is the dot class file? A dot Java, right? I compiled a class which is available in package 1. Successfully compiled. Then compile B class. How to compile B class? Java C space -d space dot space B dot Java. Right? I have main method in B class, right? I need to run that one. So how can I run? So where B class available? In package 2, right? Package 2. How can I run? Java space package name is what? pk2 dot class name is what? B. Okay, in this way I can run the program. It is package. You should mention package name also. Now you got the output, right? m1 method in package 1. In that way I can access a class method in B class if it is different packages also. Okay, are you understanding? Right. Next thing, that is about packages. So This is the syntax to create package and this is the syntax to import the package, right? Next thing, see here, I already explained about these things. Access modifiers or access specifiers. What are the access modifiers we have in Java? Private, public, protected and default. See, private, protected, no modifier means default. Next to public. Public means what? We can access that values in anywhere. Private means we can access that values within the class only. Default means we can access values within the package. If it is protected, can access within the package. If the class having subclass that is in another package, so if that class is extending, the subclass is extending the parent class, then we can access if it is protected also. Okay, see here are the rules. See, if it is same class, so private we can do modifier means default we can do, we can access, protected we can access, public we can access the same package. So if it is private we cannot access, if it is default we can access, protected we can access, public we can access. The same package null subclass, so private means we cannot access, so default means we can access, protected means we can access, public means we can access. That means here public means we can access anywhere. Okay, protected means so within the package, default means within the package, private means only within the class. Okay, in shortcut way you can remember like this. Okay, private means within the class only, public means we can access anywhere, default means within the package, protected means within the package, but if the class is available in one package, that subclass available in another package, by using extend keyword then we can access that values by using protected. That means other package class values also we can access when if it is extended. Okay, see if you want to show that example, see one example here. Where is that? I have B class here. I will create one more class, otherwise I will use this thing. So in editor, in this way you are creating packages. This notepad, what I already shown to you, in that way you can create. So in package I created one class, the class name is A. Okay, or pkg test. Okay, I created one class here. I have class A, I have class B. Okay, here I have I am taking one variable int a equal to 10. Okay, b equal to 20, c equal to 30. Right. See here, I have a variable. It is public. Are not working. Okay, I will type here system dot out dot println schema printl println one method void number I want to access the A class variable, that is A value 10. So I'm trying to print A class value. Okay, that is class A. Right. So how can I print that value? I need to create object here equal to newbie. And how can I call that method? B dot method name is m1. See here, I can get the A value. See, I got the A value, right? Why? The value is public. Here A value is public. So if it is private, I'm changing it as private. Can I access here? See, compile time error. This is editor, right? Automatically it compiles. You no need to type java c space file name dot java and all. So it automatically show in red mark. See here. The field A.A is not visible. We are unable to access because the variable is private. Okay, that means what? The private keyword, if you use private keyword, only the class members only can access. Here public void m2 method see here. See, we need to call right first m2 method. How can I call? Create a object a equal to new a dot m2. See here, I'm able to access private members within the class only. Within the class I can use, but outside the class, if the variable is private, outside the class I cannot access. See, we having error here. Okay, we cannot access. That means what? It is not visible. So a dot a is not visible. So private keyword, if you use private keyword, private access specifier in front of the variables or methods or class, we cannot use in subclasses. Okay, have you understand? Are you understanding? Public means we can access anywhere. Private means we cannot access into other subclasses. This value we cannot access. If it is default means there is no modifier. Default means this one only. If it is default means we can access. So within this package, wherever if you write, so we can access that value. I can access the a value. See here, I don't have any error here. I got the a value. That means default means within the package wherever you can access the values. Okay, we can create a separate class for this, we can create separate class for this, then we can create separate class for this. These all classes available in this package. So that means within the package, if it is a default access modifier, we can access the values in any class. Okay, coming to protected. I created another package. This is D class. It contains, see, we'll execute here. D class protected C equal to 40 value I have given. So this can I access in this other package? So I have class C extends, class D. Okay, I'm importing package. So you know, right, if you want to access the other package value, so you should use package name, that package name dot the class name. Okay, now can I access that value? M4 method okay, I'm trying to access C value. C, this is one package. We are in pkg.test package. So this package D class value I'm trying to access there. So the value is what? Protected. So value is what? C, right? C. So how can I call that one? CC equal to mu C. M4. Now I can access that value because the access specifier is what? Protected. That means I can access. See, I can access the C value. C value is how much? 30. I can access. See, if it is private, we cannot access. Default means we are not assigning any value. We are not assigning any access specifier. Okay. So in that way, we can understand the packages. Okay. And the access specifiers are access modifiers. Do you understand? See, this is what? Package 1, package 2. See, here protected means we have a subclass here, package 2. We have two classes here. We have the protected value here in B class. I'm extending E extends C class, C extends B class. Then I can access if it is protected only. Okay. Private means within the class only we can access. Okay. Or default means within the package only this package. How many classes we have? So wherever if you want to access the value, so there we can access within the package if it is default. If it is default. Protected means we can access in this way also. If we have the values from two different packages, so you must use here extend keyword. It should be extends. Otherwise we cannot access other package values here. Okay, that's what protected. See, we have some examples here. I will share this document. You need to practice. Okay, this example you need to practice. The next concept today we are going to discuss, that is exception handling. Exception handling. So introduction to exception handling. See, I will give brief things about exception handling. Exception handling. So here first we need to know about what is exception. Okay, how to handle that exceptions. Okay, here exception means a runtime error. Exception means what? Exception means what? Runtime error. Okay, runtime error you call as exception. Right. How to handle this exception? How to handle this exception? By using 5 keywords. Those are type, catch, finally, close. Okay. So these are the 5 keywords. By using these keywords, we can handle the runtime exceptions. Okay. So see here why I need to handle these exceptions. See, we have multiple statements now here. We have multiple statements. One, statement 2, statement 3, statement 4, statement 5, statement 6, statement 7, statement 8. This way we have a lot of statements. A lot of statements. Okay, right. If you are executing number of statements, if you have an error in fifth statement, okay, wherever, and runtime error occur in fifth statement, what will happen? What will happen? The rest of the statements will be executed. So we have error in this statement. We have these are sixth, seventh, eighth statements are, it doesn't have any errors. So why I need to stop if we have exception occur in fifth statement? Why I need to stop the execution of these statements? Okay, so in that case we are using exception handling. So that means what? If we have the exception in this statement, so if you are trying to handle this exception, remaining statements, so remaining statement will be executed. Okay, so that's what the advantage of exception handling. Okay, the remaining statements will be executed if you handle this error. Okay, so how to handle? We have these keywords, right? In this exception handling, we have types of exceptions. Types of exceptions. What are the types of exceptions? Exception. We have two types. According to Oracle, those are three types. Here we can say we have two types. Those are, first one, exception. Second one is unchecked exception. Exception and unchecked exception. Checked exceptions occurs at compile time. Unchecked exceptions occurs compile time. Unchecked exceptions occurs at runtime. So checked exceptions occurs at compile time. Unchecked exceptions occur in runtime. So what are the examples we have in checked exceptions? Okay, like which are occurred in checked exception means compile time, unchecked exception runtime. So here like SQL exception, class not found exception, SQL exception, class not found exception. Okay, next some other exceptions we have. Okay, IOE exception. Okay, these are checked exceptions occurred at compile time. So runtime exceptions are unchecked exceptions. What are the unchecked exceptions? Interview question, this one. So tell me some unchecked exceptions. So unchecked exception, arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, uh, array index out of bound exception, string out of bound exception, So these all are unchecked exceptions. That means which occur at runtime. See, arithmetic exception. For example, some value is anything is divided by infinity. That means we will get value anything by 0 is what? Infinity, right? So infinity, the system will know infinity? No. So it doesn't throw exception at compile time. It throws at runtime. So like arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, array index out of bound exception. If you see that example, you can understand. Okay, let us go through our concept exception handling. See here, an exception is a abnormal condition that arises in the code sequence at the runtime. Okay, in other words, exception is a runtime error. We can say exception is runtime error or abnormal condition. If any abnormal condition occur, means the flow of the execution of the program will be disturbed, right? The flow of the execution of the program will get disturbed. So that's why we need to handle that exception to execute the remaining statements, right? An exception is an event that disturbs the normal flow of the program. Exception is an event that disturbs the normal flow of the program. The Java exception is an object, that is an object which is thrown at a runtime. So exception can be division by 0, array out of bound exception, so end of file systems. So IO streams concept will be there. So there we have we should close the files. So if we are handling the files, so it will throw the exceptions. So those exceptions we can handle by using this exception handling. See, exception handling is the mechanism to handle the runtime errors. It's a mechanism to handle the runtime errors, so that the normal flow of the application can be maintained. We can maintain the normal flow of the execution. Okay. Java exception handling brings runtime error management into the object-oriented world. How it will be? So by using these 5 keywords, try, catch, throw, throws, finally. Okay, we can manage. So these are the keywords we need to remember. So what is the purpose of each keyword? So where we can use? This is the general form of exception handling. While you are handling the exception, you need to write this code. Okay. See here, try block. First one is what? Try block. Next one, catch block. Next one, finally block. Next, throw and throws we will discuss. So what is the use of try class? Where we can use it? So block of the code to monitor for the errors. See here, we have the exception in fifth statement right here. Where is it? It's gone. Okay. So we have the exception in fifth statement. That statements we can write here. We can write within this block. So if you know the exception occurs because of this code, so that type of program you can write within the try block. Okay, try block encloses the code. That means the block of code to monitor for the errors. Okay, right. If you are writing exception occur code in the try block. Okay, next catch block. What catch block will do? Exception handler for exception type 1. So we can write multiple catch blocks for one try block. Okay, but if you are writing try block, catch block you should write. Otherwise, we'll get error. Otherwise, we can write like a try block with the finally block, no problem. See, first, see here, a try block uses to enclose in the code. That means whatever the error code that will write inside the try block that encloses the code. Then catch block catches the exception. Okay, so we can write different catch blocks based on that exception type 1, exception type 2. If it is arithmetic exception, right here, arithmetic exception AE, we are catching the arithmetic exception. If it is array index out of bound exception, you can catch here type 2 exception. Based on the type, you can write. Okay. Next one is what? Finally block. See, when we can use finally block. Block of the code executed after the try block ends. So if we are not writing the catch block also, we can write finally block. See here, if the error is handled by the try catch blocks or not. Okay, so whatever happens, the finally block will be executed. Okay, so when I can use finally block means, so whether the try catch blocks finds the errors, handles the errors or not, it doesn't care whether the try catch handle the error or not. So the finally block will be executed. So in that situation we can use the finally block. Like, so file system there, IO streams, so in that we have the files, text file or whatever file, Excel files, whatever. If you are in that case, you are opening the files and you are writing data into the file. Okay, if you get any error at runtime, so you are writing closing file code. So but if you have error exception at writing itself, so the remaining code, the closing connection or closing file connection code will not be executed. In that case, that code I can write within the finally block. So what is the case here? Are you understanding? We have a file concept. The files are we are writing the code for open the file. We are writing or reading the files, and we should close the files. These are the steps. So while you are writing the file, if you get an error, if you get an exception, so the remaining code, rest of the code will not be executed. So the file will not be closed. In that way, if you are opening many files, what's the problem? So we'll get problem, right? All files are open, it doesn't close. At any time it doesn't close, performance will get decreased. So in that case, we can use finally block. Whatever the code you are writing to close the files or closing the database connections, that type of code we can write in the finally block. There, in that case, we can use finally block. Okay, are you understanding? Try block is used for what? Enclosing the code. Whatever the code we are we know the code is having the error, the type of code we can write inside the try block. The catch block will get that exception. So based on type of exception, if it is arithmetic, array index, out of bound, whatever it is. Coming to finally block, whether the try catch blocks handles the exception or not, it doesn't care about that. At any time it will execute always, they execute the always. That's about finally block. Okay, in two cases I given examples, like files. If you are trying to close a file, so we should write the connection close or file close or code inside the finally block. Okay, in interview they will ask when you can use finally block. So in case the try catch finally blocks handle the exception or not, like file systems or the database connections, so we must close it, so otherwise we will get performance issues. So that type of code I can write in finally block. All right, see here, exception type is the type of exception that has occurred. So program statement that we monitor for exceptions are contained in a try block. If an exception occur in try block, it throw the code can catch this exception. What try block will do? It thrown the exception, that catch block will catch it. Okay, using catch block and handle the exception. So there, catch block handle the exception in rational manner. The system generated exceptions are automatically thrown by the Java at runtime. Okay, if the catch block is used to handle the exception, called exception handler. Okay, Right. So must be used after a try block only. Catch block, when we can use catch block? You must use the class block, the catch block after the try block only. This is the syntax we should follow. Otherwise we will get error. Okay. We can use multiple catch blocks with a single try block. We can write only one try block, the remaining we can write number of catch blocks. There is no problem, there is no syntax problem. Okay, so the throw here, throw keyword used to manually throw an exception. Throw keyword used to throw an exception manually. An exception that is thrown out of the method be specified using throws class. Okay, an exception that is throw out of the method specified using throw class. So these things you can understand while you are doing the examples. Okay, there we can see. Next, any code that absolutely must be executed after the try block completes is put in finally block. Okay, when finally block we can use any code that absolutely must be executed after a try block completes is put in finally block. You must wants to execute any statement, the statements will be you can write inside the finally block. See, those are caught exceptions. We see uncaught exception. When we do not handle an exception in Java, see here what will happen. I have written one class. Okay, so inside the main method, int d equal to 0, int a equal to 42 by d. D means what? 0. Anything by 0 is infinity, right? So system knows about infinity. No. See now, then what is the exception? What is the exception? If you are not using exception handling here, try catch blocks, what is the exception here? So you will get exception like arithmetic exception, java.lang.arithmetic exception because of by 0, d value is 0, right? So we'll get arithmetic exception. This code makes occur arithmetic exception. If you are uncaught that exception, so the program will stop here, it will throw this exception, right? This is called runtime exception. While you are compiling this program, java c dot class name dot java, it is executed. There is no compile time error. We are getting error at runtime. We are getting exception at runtime. See, java space class name. We are getting java.lang.arithmetic exception. See, right in interview they'll ask like what is the case to get the arithmetic exception. You have to write this code on. You have to write this example. You need to expand like this. Okay, runtime exception example. Then Java runtime system detects the attempts to divide by 0. It constructs a new exception object and then throws this exception. This causes the exceptions to stop because once an exception has been thrown, it must caught by the exception handler and it deals with the immediately. So if no exception handlers are defined, the exception is caught by the default handler provided by the Java runtime system. Okay, by using default handler, we are getting that exception there. Okay. The default handler display the string description. We have seen now just now in this example. We have seen the string means the words. Description describes the exception that prints stack trace from the point at which the exception occurred. It terminates the program. It terminates the program and it displays the string in description. See that stack trace will always show the sequence of methods invocations that lead up to the error. See here, we have class. This is static method. That means we don't need to create object for this find method. So 10 by 0, which occurs arithmetic exception. So you are calling that find method here. That means we are executing. The result stack trace from the default exception handling through how the entire call stack is displayed. See here, this is compiled successfully. Then here you are executing, you are running that program, you will get main java.lang.arithmetic exception by 0. So where this exception is occurred in Java, sixth line you are getting that exception. Java in 10th line you are getting that exception. Sixth line means this one, 10th line means this one. So here in this way getting the exceptions. Okay, right. To call the stack is quite useful for debugging. So why we are using this stack means, so for debugging to find the errors and we can solve it, because it pinpoints the price sequence of steps that led to the error. Okay, right. See here. We have some theory. We already learned this. Exception is an abnormal condition that arises in a code sequence at runtime. An exception is a runtime error, and an exception is an event that disrupts the normal flow of the program. It is an object which is thrown at runtime. The exception can be division by 0 or array out of bound exception in the file system access, etc. Arithmetic exception. So these are about the exception. You can define like this. Exception handling. In Java, exception handling is mechanism to handle the runtime errors so that normal flow of the application can be maintained. We can maintain the normal flow of the application if you are using exception handling. Java exception handling is managed by using the 5 keywords. You know, try, catch, finally, throws. Okay. We have discussed already these things. Okay. Where we can use throw. Throw keyword used to manually throw an exception. Any exception that is thrown out of the method must be specified as such by the throws class. Throw and throws. Okay. If you have examples, then we can understand that. So problem without exception, we have seen that nearly. Here. These are some exception examples. In interview also they will ask some examples for exception. Okay, see here we have an example for how to handle the exception. So we have the exception and int x equal to y by 0. In this line, in this statement, we have the exception. What is the exception? You know already, we discussed it. So arithmetic exception, anything by 0 is occurs arithmetic exception, right? That's you need to handle. So whatever the code, you may know the it occurs exception, that code we can write within the try block. Try, open flower base, close flower base. So within the try block we are writing the code. Then any exception occurs, then try block throws into the catch block, then catch block called the arithmetic exception E. You need to write the syntax like this. Okay, see, you have to see here, you need to write like this. So arithmetic exception E, system.out.println E. You are printing that exception. So should not be 0 in the demonstrate. So to understand this thing, we are writing it in the system.out.println should not be 0 in the demonstrate. So after catch block, you can write rest of the code. Welcome to exception handling. Okay. Can you see that program? See. I'm going to create one class. What is the code make to get the exception? Here into y equal to 50, then x equal to y by 0. Okay, then see, because of this code we will get the exception, right? See here, I am trying to print this. I'm trying to print x value. There is no compile time error. You need to observe here clearly. So if we run the program, it's showing message like this. So this is the arithmetic exception. If you are writing number of statements, so we'll see this example only, then we will see other examples. First we will see this example. Now it is cause of arithmetic exception. What will happen? So we need to handle it. How to handle? How to handle? What are the keywords you need to use? So whatever the code you have written, that code you need to write within the try block. So with the try block, what you need to write? Catch block. So what type of exception it is? Arithmetic exception, right? So I can print what is that exception. So the description we can see if you use this one. So then if you handle that exception, the rest of the code will be executed. If you not handle this exception, so you stop here itself, you can't execute this rest of the code. Okay, see now what is the output? There is no compile time error, you can observe there. See, we handle the exception. So even though we are getting exception here, the statement, what are the statements we have written here? The statements we can execute. See the output, we are able to execute, right? Because this try catch block, try and catch block, we are able to caught the exception, and the rest of the code also we are able to execute it. Okay, if you don't have this try catch block, so here we will get exception, we can't execute the remaining statements. Okay, are you understanding? Yes, all of you. See, the common scenarios where exception occur, you have to write these examples in front of the interviewer. So they will ask write some examples of exception, runtime exceptions. They will ask like that. You need to write this example. Examples like arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, number format exception, array index out of bound exception, array index string out of bound exception. These are the examples you need to write in front of the interview and you need to explain it. So when you know arithmetic exception, when it occurs any value represented by 0, then we will get the arithmetic exception. When null pointer exception occurs, any operation performed on null variable, the string str equal to null, then you are trying to find the null value length, so you will get null pointer exception. See here, next thing we can write within the m1 method. This is my m1 till where, till catch block, and this. Okay, m1 method I have written, so this should not be here. I have written one method here. So we have seen this example already. Okay, the remaining example is what? Null pointer example, null pointer exception example. Public void method. So you can write null pointer exception code here. See here, when we will get null pointer exception, I have a string s equal to null. Okay, now I'm trying to find the length of the string, the length of the string. So this is default method, you know, in strings. So you are finding the length of the string. See here, see my here, what exception we'll get? We'll get null pointer exception. So I can make it a static method, so that I no need to create object here. Directly I can call the method name m2. Class name, not method name. If it is same class name, I no need to mention class name also. So directly I call m2 method. See here. So what is the exception we will get? Null pointer exception, java.lang.null pointer exception. So cannot invoke string length because s is null. Okay. So in this case, I will get the null pointer exception if string is null. Okay. So if we are trying to find the length of the string, we'll get the null pointer exception. Right. Next thing, number format exception. When we will get number format exception? Number format exception. You are formatting. You are trying to format into number. So which thing you are trying to format into number? We have a string. Converting a string into number. String str equal to abc. Okay. I'm going to convert the string into value. So we have wrapper classes. For int we have integer. So integer dot parse int of str. I'm trying to convert the str string into the int type. Then I can get the number format exception. Why I cannot convert the string into number abc? See, we'll see that exception here. Static number format exception example. Number format return type. Why? No need to return anything here. When I can get number format exception? Can someone tell me? Hello, all of you. No one giving reply to whom I am saying. 36 members only available here. Very nice. Yes, CR, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me in which case we will get number format exception? See here, I already shown here. We have a string data. The string data I am converting into number. Can I convert like this string value? I have my name is Siva. Can I convert into numeric value? No, right?
No, sir.
So that time I can get the number format exception. See, I am trying to convert this string value. So we have string equal to something. Okay, ABC, ABS, whatever. Now the string value I want to convert into integer value. How can I convert integer dot parse int of yes. So that value I converted and I am storing in int I. So I converted. So I'm going to print that printing I value. So what is the exception here? We can see. Tell me what is the exception we can see here. Tell me. Number format exception. See java.lang. Null pointer. Okay, we did not call this, right? See here. I'm putting this into comment. What is the method name we have written here? Number format. Number format examples. Here I'm running that program. See, we'll get number format exception. Why? String value, that is a string value. How can I convert into number? Not possible, right? So in that situation, I will get number format exception. Number format exception. If I'm trying to convert string value into integer value, then we will get the number format exception. Okay, you need to explain like this. Next, array index out of bound exception. Seema, when I can get array index out of bound exception? So accessing an array beyond its capacity. So see the array capacity int a new int of 5. We given size is how much? 5. The capacity of array is 5 elements. Now you are trying to access. You are trying to give the input in the index of 8. The value is 20. You are trying to insert into the value into the array, that is 20. So the size is 6. Sorry, size is here I given 5. Okay, you are giving 8 here. The size capacity is what? 5, but I am trying to give 8. So in that case, I will get array index out of bound exception. There is no size 8. Okay, that is called array index out of bound exception, right? That way we have so many. You try to practice those exceptions. Array index, null pointer, string out of bound exception, IO exception, SQL exception. These are compile time exception, SQL exception, IO exceptions. See exceptions types. I already explained, right? So exceptions are 2 types. Mainly 2 types, ma'am. Exception, see here, exception superclass is what? Throwable. From throwable we have exception and error. Okay, exception and error. So exception having exception here 2 types: compile time exception and runtime exception. Compile time exception and runtime exception. See here. So exceptions are 2 types. Compile time exception, here exception is compile time exception, and here we have runtime exception. What are the examples for compile time exception? IO exception, SQL exception, class not found exception. These exceptions are occur at compile time. That's why we are calling this exception is called compile time exception. Okay, or checked exception. Checked exception and unchecked exception. Compile time means checked exception, runtime means unchecked exception. So runtime exceptions, what are the examples we can say for runtime exception? We have seen already this arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, number format exception. Next, index out of bound exceptions. Those are array index out of bound exception and string index out of bound exception. When we get array index out of bound exception, if the size is 5, you are trying to access the 6th value, or if you are trying to add value to above the capacity of 5. If you are trying to access 6, if you are trying to add 6th position value, so we will get the array index out of bound exception. Okay, I think you are clear about this. So exceptions are two types: checked exception, unchecked exception. Here checked exception is here this one. It's occur at compile time. Those are IO exception, SQL exception, class not found exception. Coming to runtime exceptions, that means unchecked exceptions which occur at runtime. That's why we are calling runtime exceptions. So examples are arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, number format exception, index out of bound exception. Okay, right. This about you are clear about this, I think. Next, coming to error, these are we can call these are also in sort of runtime exceptions. So stack overflow error, virtual memory error, out of memory error. This error means unrecoverable. Unrecoverable. How can you define this error? Means unrecoverable. Unrecoverable errors are out of memory error. If it is out of memory error, what should we do? We should use the external other external hard disk. Virtual machine error, stack overflow error. We can't uh, recover it again. So these are irrecoverable. That's called errors. According to Oracle, we have three types of exceptions: compile time exception or checked exception, runtime exception or unchecked exception on error. Okay, error means here what? Irrecoverable. We can't recover it. We can't recover it with that exception, of course. So, like, what are the examples for errors? Out of memory error, virtual machine error, stack overflow error. Okay. See, we have the description. All exceptions types are subclasses of throwable. What is the superclass for all exception? Throwable. It is the top exception class hierarchy. The two subclasses immediately are exception, runtime exception, error. Exceptions used for exceptional conditions that user programs to catch, and is used to create customized exception types. The subclass of the exception is runtime exception. So runtime exception is subclass of exception. This type of are automatically defined for the programs that we will write, include they can like division by zero and all. We already explained in the diagram. Okay, see the diagram, so you can explain easily. So exception errors, exception that are not expected to be caught. So under normal stance by the programmer. So the stack overflow, out of memory error, and error is irrecoverable, irrecoverable or unrecoverable. So the two categories of exceptions are checked exception and unchecked
Sir,
exception. Yes.
zoom the page, sir.
Now
Yeah, it's now fine, sir.
these all discussed in the diagram already. Okay, and that's why I'm going like this. Okay, checked exceptions. You know the checked exceptions means at compile time, the classes that extends the throwable class. This is the super class for all exception classes. So the runtime exception errors are the checked exceptions. So what are the examples for checked exceptions? IO exception, SQL exception. Okay, class not found exception. These are the example for checked exceptions. Unchecked exception means
Arithmetic, null pointer expressions.
yes, array index out of one. Those are the examples. Unchecked means then exception occur at runtime. Okay, and also we call as runtime exceptions. So uncut exceptions, Java runtime system detects the exception. It constructs a new exception object and throws this exception. If no exception handler is provided, then exception is caught by the default handler. So default, and if you are, so I have explained example, first example, right? So we did not use the exception handling, even though it shows the exception and exception number where we are getting that exception. So that has done by the default handler. Okay, so that provides by Java runtime system. The default handler displays the string description, exception prints a stack trace. Okay, this example I have explained already. Okay, these all are completed. So this is the internally flow in JVM. So how the flow is? if you are having the arithmetic exception, so it throws to the exception object. If it is handled, so rest of the code will be executed. If it is not handled, so JVM, it prints the exception description, print the stack trace, means exception occur line number and all, and then terminates the program. Okay. See, can I use, so I used try block, then I used catch block to find that exception, to catch that exception. Can I use more catch blocks only with the one try block? Yes, I can write
Yes.
multiple catch blocks with one try block. See here, I have the exception. Here we have two exceptions like Seema. I'm trying to find the length of one arguments. Okay, for string arguments, that means those doesn't have any arguments there, so trying to find it. And we have another exception, array index of out of bound exception. See here, that one. So we need to handle these two. How can I handle the first catch block? Handle arithmetic exception. Okay, arithmetic exception. The second catch block able to handle the array index out of bound exception. In that way also we can handle the exceptions. So we can write multiple catch blocks. You need to you need to practice these blocks, then only you can understand. Examples, should practice these examples, try to understand. Okay, next try catch. Finally we complete try catch, we completed here. Then we are going to explain about throw and throws. See, what is throw? A program can throw an exception explicitly using throw statement. Okay, we can throw an exception explicitly means we will show in the example, we will see in the example. Okay, throw from throwable instance. Here the throwable instance must be an object type throwable or subclass of the throwable. Throwable, you know the throwable, right? Throwable is a superclass for all the exceptions. So we should create the instance for throwable like object. So the flow of the execution steps immediately after the throw statement. Any subsequent statements are not executed. All possible catch blocks are inspected. If no matching handler is found, then the default handler halts the program and prints the stack trace. Any user define exception in throw by using throw statement. See how I can use throw. Where I can use throw? Example, we have one class except demo 10. We have created one static method here. Next, within the static method, so I'm handling a null pointer exception. Okay, so here I need to throw that exception, right? So with there I can use throw. This is the syntax you need to remember how to use throw. So throw you can use within the method block. Okay, within the method body, within the method where you are writing throw, so within the method body, and you are using new keyword to the null pointer exception. New null pointer exception, we are creating object, and what is the message you want to display for that exception, that you can display here. Okay, then use the catch block to handle null pointer exception. So we can catch that exception and we can display it. Okay, examples. So what is the syntax? Remember here in interview they will ask what is the difference between throw and throws, why you are using throw. explicitly, it throws explicitly an exception. So the rule is what? You need to create throwable instance. Here null pointer exception object you created. You are writing throw keyword in within the method body, and whatever the message, this is user message, demo is user message, what are the message you want to display, you can write within that this. Okay, so you call this method within the main block, then you are executed. So we will get demo is the message, and these are the system.out.println, the exception where we occurred, where it is occurred, so that details we will get. Okay, so that means what? Output is what? Exception caught in. So this message we will get exception caught in method. So we got object description demo, whatever description we have written, that we can display. Next, throws keyword. So what is the definition for throws? If your method is capable of causing the exceptions that it does not handle, it must specify this behavior so that callers of the method can guard themselves against the exception. This can be done by using throws keyword in the method. So it is not used for error, runtime exception and their subclasses. Okay, all other exceptions that a method can throw must be declared in the throws class. If they are not, a compile time error will be result. Okay, all checked exceptions, for all checked exceptions. See how we can write. What is the syntax? See, we have a method. See here one example. Public static void main and string args. Here we are using throws keyword. Throws, IOE exception, SQL exception. Okay, these are compile time exceptions, checked exceptions. So you are using throws keyword at method signature. You are using throws keyword at method signature. If it is throw keyword, you are using throw keyword within the method body. Okay, so throws keyword handles this exception, IOE SQL exception. That means that JVM handles it. Next, finally block. Finally block creates a block of code that will be executed after the try catch block has completed and before the code following try catch block only. The finally block will be executed whether or not an exception is thrown. If an exception is thrown, the finally block will be executed even if no catch statement matches the exception. That means finally what you can say about finally block means whether the exception is handled by the try catch block or not. If exception caught or if exception is not caught, the finally block will be executed. Okay, that's what about this finally block. If you don't handle the exception before the terminates the program, JVM executes finally block. So when in which situation we can use? If you want to, if it is Java finally block, you use it to execute important code such as closing connections, file handling operations. Finally class is optional. You can write and you cannot write. You can write or you may not write. There is no necessity to write the finally block. Okay, but you are if you are handling the exception means you must write try followed by the catch block. All right. Finally block is executed whether the exception is handled or not. That is used for cleanup the code, and try has only one finally block. So what is the flow? The program code. The exception occur. Yes, exception handled. Yes, finally block executed. If exception is not handled, finally block is executed. If exception occurred or no, also finally block is executed. That means finally block executed in. See here, have a finally block. So we have arithmetic exception occurred in this, and even though you are writing the finally block, so exception it is handled, and if it is not handled also, the finally block will be executed. That is the example you can write there. So I already told you the important interview question is what here, the difference between throw and throws keyword. Where we can use throw keyword? Throw is used to throw an exception explicitly, and throw is used to declare an exception. You are declaring the exception in the method signature, right? So the throws keyword, checked exceptions cannot be propagated through the throw statement. Okay, checked exceptions means compile time exceptions. Those are IOA exception, SQL exception, class not found exception. These exceptions we not propagate. Propagate means one class you are handling the exception the same. You are should handle the in another class also. That time we cannot propagate it. So throw is used within the method body. Okay. Here checked exceptions can be propagated with the throws. Throws is followed by the class. Throw is used with the method signature. We cannot throw multiple exceptions. By using throws keyword, we can throw multiple exceptions. Okay. The main thing they are in interview they are expecting from you. What is the point they are expecting from these differences means here I did not mention. So here main thing is by using throw keyword we can create the custom exception. We can create the custom exception. That means user defined exception we can create. So actually why I need to create user defined exception? See in ATM machines if you get any error they display it, if it is display some like programmer arithmetic exception, null pointer exception. Can user can know about arithmetic exception, null pointer exception and all? No, they don't know about that. So that time you need to display some message, amount insufficient amount, insufficient balance. So this type of messages you can display instead of null or arithmetic. So how I can do it? By using throw keyword. That's point they are expecting. Okay, you need to explain this way. Okay, right. Throw keyword. Throw by using throw you can explicitly throw only one exception. Can throw only one exception by using throw. We cannot throw multiple exceptions by using throw keyword. If it is throws, we can throw multiple exceptions. You already seen that in method signature you have written throws keyword. There you are throwing IOA exception, SQL exception. So by using comma separator. Okay, that way we can throw multiple exception. Creating own exception. Creating own exception. I said right, custom exception. So how we can create? If you are creating our own exception, then it's known as the custom exception. You are user defined exception. Java custom exceptions are used to custom the exception according to the user needs. That is to create our own exception. User defined exception must be extended also exception class. See my here we have that example. So you need to follow the rules. We have so many examples for the exceptions. You need to practice those all exceptions. So I will share this document. You need to practice all exception. If you have any doubts, if you have any errors, contact me. Okay, you can ask me in the next class. See, I will explain this custom exception. See, ma, we have the rules to create a custom exception. See, I created one class exception. So not this one. See, custom exception. I have created one class uh, test custom exception. So first if you want to create the custom exception, instead of displaying null pointer exception, arithmetic exception, if you want to display some other message, so you need to follow these rules. So you must write one class. So this is user defined, your wish. Then that class must extend the exception. What is the rule here? You are creating one class, right? That class must extend the exception. Okay, through the constructor you are passing the string value, though the string we are getting here. This is invalid age exception is a constructor, we are passing string value. That is super. Okay, you need to write this code. If you are writing any custom exception code, you need to write like this. Okay, after that, see here, I created one method to validate the age. So we are passing the age. So see my here, I used throws keyword. So I'm throwing the exception, invalid age exception. So this throws keyword used at method signature. We can throw multiple exception here, like invalid age exception, comma, IO exception, comma. So multiple exception we can throw by using throws keyword. Coming to throw keyword, we can throw only one exception. Okay, we can create custom exception by using throw keyword. So see here, the condition is what? If age is less than 18, so those people are not valid to vote. Okay, to vote. So who are having age below 18, so they are not allowed. So if you are passing the value, we should display this message. So you are not eligible, you are this not valid age. So this message I want to display. So there you see here, this is the syntax. Throw new invalid age exception. You need to create object for this class. Throw new invalid age exception, not valid, user defined message. Whatever message you want to display there, you can use it. Okay, right. Next, else. If not valid, display this, else you display this. So I call it the static method. I pass the 13 value. 13 means less than 18. So that means what? Not valid. You should display the not valid. Okay, see the output here. See, not valid. You can display this message. Okay. So in that way we can create custom exception or user defined exceptions. Okay, our time up. Okay, if you have any doubts, we'll see in the next class. Try to practice these programs. So I will share this document in your Teams folder. In your Teams, I created one folder, right? In that folder I will update it. And I will give assignment, control statements and array programs. So I will give assignment, I will upload into the Teams. So you should complete, we have all this. So you should complete it. So wherever I give folder,